Hello and welcome to the Divorce to Bliss podcast. Here you will learn all things related to healing from divorce, mind, body, and spirit, so you can create a beautiful new life filled with happiness. I'm Rachel Ruby, author of Divorce to Bliss, divorce coach, speaker, and attorney, and I'm so glad you found me here. Hello and welcome. Today's podcast is all about toxic emotions. You may have heard the term toxic emotions before, so let's talk a little bit about what they are, and then we can get into how they affect us when we are going through healing from divorce. A toxic emotion is any emotion that we feel that literally affects us by either causing us mental or physical distress in some way, making us feel negative in many different ways, from anything from sad and angry to depressed, to even wanting to end one's life. So a toxic emotion can just sit inside of us and kind of gnaw away at us, just like you can think about a parasite doing that in your gut. And so it is so important, especially when we're healing, to examine those toxic emotions and understand how they are affecting us and learn ways that we can get rid of them. Many people, when they're going through the divorce process, there's so much negativity and so many difficult feelings that we don't really consider what effect those feelings are having on us until maybe we get sick or we, just are in this victim mentality or are pulled down into depression. And even in those cases, sometimes people don't realize where it comes from, even though they know the divorce led to it. They don't really understand and break it apart. So let's talk a little bit about some of the main toxic emotions that are associated with divorce so that we can learn how to really tap into them, examine them, and heal them. So in my opinion, the biggest toxic emotion associated with divorce is fear. And fear can manifest in different ways when we're talking about divorce. And some of those can be fear, being afraid to be alone, being afraid to support oneself, being afraid to not have someone to take care of you when you are sick, or hurt or in trouble. And all of those are valid. And what happens is they hold you back from healing, because if we're focusing on all of these toxic emotions surrounded by fear, it's inhibiting us from moving forward, right? So, and then we get pulled down into this victim mentality. And when that happens, it means that we continue to let fear guide us. And when fear guides us, we can't heal. Okay. Another toxic emotion is anger. And anger is really common in divorce because what happens is we are breaking up this union of the we into the two individuals, right? So we're no longer together. And it is human nature oftentimes when we are faced with something difficult to blame others. So divorce is a perfect example of how blame gets in the way when we're trying to heal. And again, blame can lead to kind of an outlet where we don't reflect on ourselves and our own actions and take responsibility for them, but instead we blame the other soon-to-be or former spouse. And in a way, blame lets us feel good for a minute or a short time because it doesn't force us to take responsibility. But what's really important to understand is that when we are going through divorce, there's no one to blame. Both parties are responsible for the demise of the union. And that's even the case in the situation where one party cheated, because at some point in time, that marriage started to no longer serve. That marriage started to fall apart. There were holes in the life raft of the marriage, so to speak. It's really important when you're dealing with anger to realize that the divorce is not one person's fault. no matter what happened. Anger zaps our energy. It causes us to feel negative, infuses negativity within us, body, mind, and spirit, and thus does not allow us to move forward. Another toxic emotion is guilt. And guilt is normal in divorce, just like all the toxic emotions are. We have to realize that it's okay to feel all of these emotions, especially at the beginning of the process of splitting up and as you're going through the actual divorce process. And then when you are done with the divorce, so to speak, when it's finalized, you still have to commit to the healing work. And hopefully you've already been doing that through that divorce finalization process. But if not, it's never too late to start. Again, with guilt, we need to recognize that a relationship involves two people. At some point, I want you to let it go because divorce is not a failure. And the guilt that you are feeling is going to hold you back from healing. Another toxic emotion is to feel grief and sadness. And not to say that feeling sad and feeling grief is toxic in and of itself. It's actually part of the cleansing process when we go through something that is a trauma, which divorce is a trauma, that we have to learn to cleanse ourselves so that we can let it go. This is an exercise that I teach a lot of my clients, and it really feels good because it is a physical release of a feeling that you are having. And what we do is we stand up when we do this, but I'm going to sit down so you can see me with the camera. But you take your hands and you take them together like this, and you put them behind yourself like this. And I'm going to show you slowly. You're going to take your hands over your head and you're going to throw them out with some grit and some feeling, and just you're going to feel it leaving your body. So you're going to pick an emotion right now that you feel. I feel scared of being alone. I feel, how am I going to do this? How am I going to be alone? And this is really affecting me in healing. So you're going to take your hands together, put them over your head and close your eyes. And you're going to think of that fear and you're going to just let it go, right? And let it go. And you can do this as many times as you want, and you can do it with one hand, with both hands, but it's just the process of taking it out from your body and throwing it away and letting it go. So I want you to try that. It's one of my favorites. I do it actually quite often, and you can apply it to anything in your life that's affecting you and helping you to let go. So now let's talk about the ways that we can overcome the toxicity and focus on the healing. Number one is letting go. So that is the exercise I just showed you. And it's really a wonderful feat to be able to let go of toxic emotions, because then you start to heal. You're able to move forward in your journey of healing, and you really will start to feel better. Number two is to get healthy. And remember, as I've said many times, that healing involves the mind, body, and spirit. It's not just physical, the body, but that's a big part of it. When we eat healthy, we're not only feeding our body, but we're feeding our mind and our spirit as well. So if we're putting the good ingredients and we're avoiding the alcohol, we're avoiding smoking, we're avoiding, chemicals in food and additives and any kind of toxins that can appear in our food. And there are a lot. When we cook ourselves rather than go out and eat in restaurants, it also helps us to know that what we're putting into our bodies is healthy. So really try to focus on that and on exercise and on getting outside and breathing and being as healthy as you can. The third way to overcome toxicity is by expressing gratitude and using affirmations. And I've talked about this in other podcasts as well. We need to constantly remind ourselves, especially when we're feeling toxic or when we're recognizing that we have toxic emotions, that we are grateful. And there is so much to be grateful for in our lives every moment of every day. So it is so important to always be grateful. And I would also encourage you every morning when you wake up and every night before you go to bed to state at least 5 things for which you are grateful. In the morning, you can state 5 things for which you are grateful. In general, I'm grateful for my breath. I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful that I'm strong. I'm grateful that I'm here in this life. I'm grateful for nature. I'm grateful for my family, whatever it is. And in the evening, before you go to bed, try to make the gratitude focus on the day. What are the 3 to 5 things that you are grateful for during that day? And you might have had a difficult day. Maybe you had a disagreement with the former spouse over the child custody, or maybe you even lost a job or had something, really difficult happen. You still can find something to be grateful for. If anything, be grateful that you are alive, that you are here, that you are healthy, that you are breathing, that you are able to make choices. And find those things and make sure to state them out loud, write them down in your journal, and be grateful. The next thing, number 4, is to get out there and try something new. I have a whole podcast where I talk about this, and it's so important to get out of the rut. So when we're going through the divorce, before we split up, oftentimes there's a lot of static. So we're doing the same things that we always do. We get up, we go to work, we come home, we make dinner, maybe we go shopping. And then we come to the part where the marriage is ending and there's a lot of toxicity in our emotions. And we're trying to do all those same things while we're experiencing sadness, grief, anger, whatever it may be. And we need to put kind of like a rock in the spoke, right, of the wheel, or something to stop ourselves from doing the same things over and over. So we need to choose something that sounds fun, that sounds exciting. Maybe you already have a hobby. We need to pick something to go and physically do, sign up for a class, cook, run, jump out of an airplane, learn a new language, whatever it is. And we need to do that, because by doing that and putting a new routine into our lives, even if it's just one day a week, that's going to change it up for us, and it will affect our emotions, because it should make you feel better. If it doesn't, then try something different. Number 5, learn to focus on the now, not on the past. You cannot change the past. You cannot change what happened. You cannot focus on the should have, could have, would haves, because it's done, right? And you learned a lot and are learning a lot in the process, but the should have, could have, would haves shouldn't even be part of your thinking process. If they come in, let them go. And focus on right now, because now is what matters. The present is what matters, and moving forward to healing is what matters. So I want you to really think about that and focus on taking the steps to heal. And number 6 is positive thoughts and actions only. And again, we have negative thoughts creep in all the time because we're only human, and that's normal. When those negative thoughts creep in, when those toxic feelings creep in, acknowledge them. Don't just sweep them under the rug. Acknowledge them. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling hurt. I'm feeling scared. Acknowledge that you are maybe feeling negative, and then think of a positive thought to replace that. I think of 2 or 3 or 10 positive thoughts to replace that, and keep focusing on that, and use your affirmations again to get yourself into these positive vibes, because when you feel positive and you're expending positive energy, all those things are going to make you feel better, body, mind, and spirit. And last, number 7, support networks. I have a whole podcast on support networks. So if you want to learn a lot more about whether you have the right support network, please check out that podcast. But suffice it to say for now that you do need to have the right support networks, the right people who support you. Oftentimes, we don't have the right people, or maybe not all of the people in our support networks are the right people. The right people are the ones who let us make the decisions, who let us lead our own lives, who let us make the choices, and don't try to put their choices off on us and tell us what we should or shouldn't do. So these are all great ways to learn to get rid of the toxic emotions so that you can go on and heal, create a beautiful new life. And remember that happiness and positivity and focusing on your goals for that new life and for who you want to be in that new life are what lead to erasing the toxicity. So if you need any help, please reach out to me. I am a divorce healing coach, and I love to help people start out and stay on this path to healing from divorce, because I know that you can have an amazing life post-divorce and be happy.